Move over pumpkin pie because this sweet potato pie is a new favorite. It is completely dairy-free from the fluffy meringue topping down to the flaky pie crust. Hey there, I'm Molly Thompson from What Molly Made. Welcome back to my kitchen where we make good food that makes you feel good too. Today we are making a vegan sweet potato pie. We're starting with a simple pie crust, then layering on a silky smooth sweet potato filling and topping it with a glossy meringue. Let's get started on the vegan pie crust. I like to make sure my pie dough is prepared before I begin making this pie. I recommend making it the night before because it needs to chill in the fridge for at least 2 hours before rolling it out. You could also make this dough up to 3 months in advance and freeze it. To get started, mix 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt together in a large bowl. Add 6 tablespoons of very cold and diced vegan butter and 2/3 a cup of cold vegetable shortening. Use a pastry blender to cut the butter and shortening into the salt and flour until it resembles a coarse meal about the size of a pea. Next, we're going to make our water very cold before adding it to the dough. Measure 1/2 cup of water into a cup, then add ice. Stir it around and get it really cold, and then from there, measure out 1/2 cup of water. Add 1 tablespoon of cold water to the flour and butter mixture and stir it with a wooden spoon. Repeat this process 1 tablespoon at a time until the dough starts to form large clumps. Stop adding the water at this point, being careful not to add any more water than necessary. We used just under 1/2 cup. Transfer the dough to a well-floured work surface and press the dough together with floured hands. It should come together easily without feeling too sticky. Fold the dough onto itself until the flour is fully incorporated into the butter and shortening. Try to do this quickly to avoid warming the dough with the heat from your hands. Cut the dough in half, then flatten each into 1-inch thick discs and wrap them well with plastic wrap. Chill these in the fridge for at least 2 hours or up to 3 days. When you're ready to make the pie, start prepping the sweet potatoes. Peel 1.5 pounds of sweet potatoes, about 2 really large potatoes, and dice them into 1-inch cubes. Spread them onto a baking sheet and drizzle them with a few tablespoons of olive oil. Bake them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 22 to 26 minutes, stirring halfway through until they're fork tender. We like to roast our sweet potatoes in the oven rather than boil them to minimize the amount of moisture and give them a caramelized flavor. While the sweet potatoes are baking, prep the pie crust we made earlier. Our vegan pie crust makes 2 crusts, so save one for another recipe like our dairy-free pumpkin pie or double this recipe. You can also put them in the freezer for another pie down the road. Roll the chilled dough out onto a floured work surface. Start in the center and roll out toward the edge, turning the dough slightly after 2 to 3 rolls until you have a 12-inch circle in diameter. The dough will seem pretty thin, but you need it to be a full 12 inches so it fits on the pie pan with room to spare. Roll the dough around your rolling pin to pick it up, then carefully unroll it onto an ungreased 9-inch pie dish. Tuck the dough into the edges of the pie pan with your fingers, making sure it's completely smooth. Do not trim the excess dough from the top. Fold the excess dough over on top of the edges of the pan and use the thumb and index finger of one hand and the index finger of the other to flute it into wavy edges. Place the dough back in the fridge while you make the filling. Add the roasted sweet potatoes to a high-speed blender, or you can use a stand mixer fitted with the paddle attachment, and blend until smooth. Add 6 tablespoons of melted butter, 2/3 a cup of dark brown sugar, 1.5 cups of full-fat canned coconut milk shaken, 1/4 a cup of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon each of nutmeg, ginger, and salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Finish with an optional tablespoon of bourbon, then blend the mixture on high speed until combined, scraping down the sides of the blender as needed. Remove the crust from the fridge and spread the filling into the pie crust. Bake the pie for 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, then reduce the heat to 325 with the pie still in the oven, and bake for another 45 to 55 minutes or until the center is slightly jiggly like Jell-O when you give it a nudge. The center should read 175 degrees Fahrenheit on an instant read thermometer. Start checking the pie 30 minutes into baking, and if the edges of the crust are browning too quickly, apply a crust shield or cover the edges with foil. Remove the pie from the oven and cool on a wire rack for at least 2 hours, ideally overnight. Now before we serve this, let's top the pie with a silky smooth and toasty vegan marshmallow fluff. Drain aquafaba from a can of chilled chickpeas. Aquafaba is just the leftover juice from the chickpeas. So drain those off and save the chickpeas for another recipe. I promise it doesn't taste like chickpeas. From there, measure out 1 cup into the bowl of a stand mixer with a whisk attachment or a bowl with a stand mixer and add an 1/8 teaspoon of cream tartar. Beat the liquid until it starts to become frothy for 1 to 2 minutes. With the mixer still on medium speed, add 2/3 a cup of granulated sugar 1 tablespoon at a time until all of it's incorporated. Turn the mixture to high speed and whisk for 8 to 10 minutes until stiff peaks form. The fluff should look glossy and hold its shape when the whisk is removed from the fluff. The fluff or meringue should look glossy and hold its shape when the whisk is removed. Cover the cooled pie with as much marshmallow fluff as you want. Turn the oven broiler on and place it in the oven to toast the top. Keep a close eye on it and turn it every minute or so to avoid burning. You could also use a kitchen torch. Serve this right away or store it in the fridge for up to 8 hours. You will not regret making this vegan pie at your holiday gatherings, and with these tips, it's sure to turn out perfect every single time. If you love this recipe and you're craving a little bit of chocolate, hit subscribe, then check out our dairy-free chocolate pudding pie.